Hey, what's up guys, Angelson here, and just checking out Chesty Puller and his new armor set. Now I did get this badass face mask as a drop 2 days ago, and I really like the way that looks, so I put that on there. But anyways, I wanted to show you this replay I had from a battle last night actually. Now my opponent, he was pretty good. I think he's ranked 49 on the ladder right now, and you know, actually let's go ahead and check his rankings. I wanted to see what his win-loss ratio was. And of course he's in my favorite clan, Clan Long. There he is right here. He is ranked 22 on the ladder actually. And he has 537 wins, 67 losses, and a questionable win ratio of 88.9%. So anyways, yes, this is who I fought. And let's go ahead and get to this replay. Okay. Here we go. Now you can see this battle is on Chikugo River. And my opponent is Long, FCK, Sky. I don't want to try to pronounce that. And he is in my most detested clan, Clan Long. Blah blah blah. And for this battle I decided to roll with the loansword core. Now you guys know how against the loansword core I am, and quite honestly I'm tired of fighting it all the time, but I'm also tired of getting those clenching losses, those just barely there losses that normally just wouldn't happen. So I decided, you know, to go ahead and give it another go. And this is a pretty long battle as well, but I'm gonna put on slow-mo a second. I'll go over my army composition. You see I have 2 bow warrior monks. Hidden over here I have heavy gunner. I also have some Yari Ashigaru. I believe I have 2. I have 6 lone swords. Some of them are moderately veteran, but because of a refresh I had to bring some vanilla units as well. And I also have, what else? Oh yeah, some Naginata warrior monks. For my cav component I have 3 units of Naginata warrior monk cav and 1 unit of the new fire cav. The Naginata monk cav are unveteraned, they are all vanilla, and the fire cav have 3 points in them. And my opponent, he used Fugu Chef and World Weary on me. So already I was at a pretty big disadvantage with most of my veteran units. And you look at my opponent's army now, this is the only cav he brought to the fight. Just 2 Yari cav, and I know he has a fire cav somewhere as well. So he's got 3 cav to my 4. And then his whole front, he has Yari Ashigaru. He also has some Matchlock warrior monks and 2 Matchlock Ashigaru with 2 bow warrior monks. And he also has one of those new bow units. I can't remember what they're called, the Daiku or whatever archers, which they're pretty decent. So he has me outranged. I have 1 heavy gunner and 2 bow warrior monks, and he has 2 bow warrior monks, that Daioku archer whatever, and then 3 matchlock units. And as well you can see he has the loansword core. I believe he deployed around 2100 units to this battle, and I deployed 1900 and some odd. Alright, so let's actually get into the fight. Now it's a really slow start. You know, obviously I am outclassed on the range component. So, you know, I'm going to try to utilize terrain to my advantage and, you know, skirmish from the tree line, weaken him as much as possible. But, you know, my opponent has the same idea I do. And here he actually brings his cav over. So, you know, I decide to respond with my cav, but, you know, my opponent's not an idiot. Those cav are mainly to protect his back lines. So the second, you know, I even start to get close to him, you know, he just pulls them back and covers them with his spears. So he really is not giving me a chance to engage his cav, and because he has so many spears and matchlocks, you know, it'd be suicidal to try to find gaps in his line and, you know, maneuver my cav in. Now my bow warrior monks are working down his matchlock warrior monk here, and it doesn't take much to rout them, but you know, he's not going to be as stupid with the rest of his army. So I've already evened up the range just a little bit more. And I saw these spear units over here. I don't know if he was trying to spear wall me or whatnot, but I eventually figure out that he's going to try and split his forces up and surround my troops. So naturally, I'm going to push forward and try to begin skirmishing. But he just does not want to give me that advantage. He keeps on kiting me back with all of his archers. And really, this battle has such a slow, boring start. So I'm actually going to quadruple speed. Now, you could say I'm camping or whatnot. What I'm doing here is I'm denying my opponent good terrain. First of all, I know he's trying to go to these trees with his archers. Second of all, he's trying to surround me with his troops, which is bad juju when you're using a loansword corps. You do not want to get surrounded. He's playing smartly and keeping his cav back. If I try to get anywhere near his cav, his spears are right there with them, and his matchlocks cover them. So I really can't win a cav engagement when he has this many supporting units with his cav. Now granted, I could, maybe maneuver some of my Yari Ashigaru with my cav, but then, he has swords and matchlocks with his. So really it's like I don't know how to describe it. It's not a winning battle though. And here, he sees what I'm doing and he decides to maneuver these bows into the trees. I'm actually going to pump this up to quadruple speed because it is such a slow start to this battle. So, he starts trying to take out some of my lone swords, which he kills 45 units in one volley. That's pretty crazy. And the second, I start moving my archers out, he starts bringing his in to close the line. And I'm just not doing a very good job skirmishing. And you see here, I start engaging his unit in the open, and he starts trying to kite me back. You got to be smart about that. Your opponents are not just going to give you their archers. A good opponent isn't, at least. And I would say, this is a pretty good opponent to be fighting. So I did try to move my Yaris up here to kind of arrow screen. And here he starts maneuvering his cav over to this flank again. So let's go ahead and stop this, put it on normal for a second. If you look at his army, he is so spread out now. He has all these units over here, 2 swords, a spear, and these, what are these, Daikyu samurai, the archers. I probably totally butchered that. As well, he's got some more spears over here. And he's got quite a bit of his army over here on the center island. And he's maneuvering another part over here, so he's breaking his army into thirds. Which, if you can do that and quickly attack your opponent, is a pretty feasible strategy. But at the same time, I see what's going on here, and I decide, I can start to isolate some of these units. And rather than, take the straightforward approach and trying to, take out these isolated units, I decide to eventually pull back my forces and maneuver around so I can start engaging these units singly. So let me go ahead and fast forward some more, and here you can see I start to withdraw my army. Now the reason I did this, like I explained, is isolating. He has all these units over here, but they have no support from the rest of his army, which now he has some units over here in these trees hidden, and he's taking the other half of his army and is trying to bring it around here to pretty much surround me. So my plan of attack here was to take, my main infantry body, maneuver it over here, and try to engage this portion of his army that's isolated completely away from the rest of his army. And here you can see he actually starts, panicking and moving the rest of his units to come in. So fortunately for me, he still has all these units over here, and that puts him at a severe disadvantage. If you go ahead and look at my bows, I mean, I've taken quite a few losses on them. That one's at 57 and this one's at 68 out of 75. Where are my heavy gunners? I don't think, yeah, they're 59 out of 59. And I'm trying to maneuver cav down here to try and help me out a little bit. But I do manage to get my bows pushed up with my heavy gunners. It's just not good terrain. And one thing I will say, if you're going to use these heavy gunners and you have a screen in front of them, you damn well better make sure that your screen is in loose formation, because if they aren't, you're just going to mow your own units down. So here you can see I actually do get in some of my cav to get in some shots on these lone swords, But the second he starts responding with spears, you got to pull him back. They are Naginata Monk Cav. You know, they are not that good. So here you can see my heavy gunners actually start to engage. And because of this micro terrain, you know, there isn't a really good, you know, field of view to shoot his units. Alright, so here you can see the rest of his army now. He's got them spread out all over the map. And I believe he's trying to reconsolidate them after he realized the error in splitting up his troops, and he saw that I was going to try to isolate his units. And over here my cav, you know, they're still looking pretty healthy. This one I believe did take a partial matchlock volley, so it's at 53 out of 60. And I do make some mistakes with my cav. I forget about some of his matchlock units he has hidden over here. But you'll see that in a few minutes when I go to maneuver my cav forward. Go ahead and speed this up a little bit more. Yeah, it's a really long battle. If I had let it played out at normal speed, we'd still be back at square one. So, alright, so that little engagement is over. You know, I weakened considerably the forces that he had over here, and you know, the only total rout that I did get was on that one Yari Ashigara unit. So not a huge victory. And over here you can see my stupid cav do catch another matchlock volley. But luckily it wasn't too devastating. You know, my units were far enough back and he was trying to shoot them at max range. Alright, so I start maneuvering my troops up again. And now I'm trying to take out his other matchlock unit over here. Which doesn't take long for the bow warrior monks. But I'm wasting a lot of arrows and I will run out of arrows over here. Still got my cav intact. You know, just trying to look for opportunities where I can engage him and start taking out some of these units, but you know, he's smart. He's gonna start laying down, you know, matchlock screens anywhere he can. And here I see this other unit trying to engage me, so I put my bows on it as well. So essentially, you know, this guy still has his forces pretty spread out. And you know, that was my benefit, that he did not consolidate his units. And I waste a lot of ammunition with these heavy gunners. I put them in the forest so you know, they would be screened from his arrows. But you know, because I wasted so much ammo, I kind of paid for it later in the battle. So here I actually move my heavy gunners up, and I see these units up here, these two loanswords. So right now what I'm trying to do is maneuver these guys up so they can get some clear shots on these guys and just watch this volley. Just mows that unit down. And you know, once again, you know, my opponent is not an idiot. He sees what I'm doing, and when I go to target this other unit, these 9 veteran loanswords, he actually starts maneuvering him back. Now that was probably a pretty big mistake on my part. What I should have done was engage this unit first, because I would have done a lot more damage to it. You know, instead of wasting, you know, that first volley on that almost dead unit anyways. You can see it's at 33 out of 150. And these guys just have crazy killing power. And because my bows did run out of ammo, I had to send them up in melee, you know, just to screen for arrows, hopefully waste some more of his. So if you look at the battlefield now, he's pretty much reconsolidated his forces. Let's go ahead and start fast forwarding this a little bit more. Here I thought I could get, you know, some cheap shots in on his cav, but his bows, I mean, these are Naginata Monk cav. You have to protect them from archers, and you have to protect them from matchlocks. They're actually really good at fighting cav. And, you know, I don't have my veteran Naginata Warrior Monk cav, but they are awesome at fighting cav. They have 17 cav bonus, you know, versus the 15 that most of the Yari cav get, and Great Guard as well. And here he's trying to, basically just getting some cheap shots and take out some more of my lone swords. And here's where I catch the second volley from his matchlocks, which he has hidden in these trees. So my plan now is to get my cav over here in his back lines and distract his troops, try to take out his cav, and in the meantime maneuver the rest of my infantry over here to hit him from the back. So that's precisely what I do here. You can see my cav moving around, and once he realizes what I'm trying to do, he starts to respond with his forces. But what that does is it takes away his concentration from what's going on over here. So I do get my cav back here now. And up front I have this unit of fire cav, and then back here I have my 3 units of monk cav. And here you can also see I'm starting to position the rest of my army up as well. So that's part of that good micro, being able to manage different units around the battlefield, but not just units that are next to each other. I don't mean just taking a sword unit, clicking here, taking a sword unit. I'm talking about controlling different elements across wide terrain. And that's something I wanted to get into here as well. Talk about terrain. Now, if you look at the battle map, this is terrain. This river is terrain, these forests are terrain, but more importantly than that, you have micro terrain. And if you look here, when you look at the ground level of a unit, this is all micro terrain. This little hill here, this hill here, this one that these archers are standing on, it's all micro terrain, and that's something you have to look at when you're employing units like matchlocks. So here you can see we do get into cav engagement. I caught his fire cav with my Naginata monks, and I've almost eviscerated both of his Yari cav. So I did pretty much win the cav battle. He does have some of these fire cav left, and of course his avatar's bodyguard. But I had to be really careful with these guys, because he does have all these spears responding, trying to envelop my cav. And I actually do, kind of squander away my cav here. What I should have done was just pull them back and retreated them from the battle while the rest of my lines advanced. But I guess it was okay sacrificing him too, because he wasn't paying attention to this side of the battle. So if you look at his units now, they've pretty much taken a severe beating. That's 138. That one's still full health. His bows are really low now, and my Yari Ashigaru are about to catch up with them. And then if you look at these guys, these are rank 9, but they're getting tired from running around the map. Okay, so finally, I do manage to get him tangled up with my cav. And now my infantry is starting to close. And this is the part of micro terrain I'm talking about. Alright, first of all, I put these heavy gunners in loose formation because I know that they are a serious target for enemy archers. And even in loose formation, they will still get quite a few kills. Now, the micro terrain aspect I'm talking about is how you position your matchlocks. Something you always need to be mindful of on the battlefield. So when it appears that you're shooting through your units, you may actually just be shooting over their head. If you look at their gun level, they have a clear field of view of all of these units without needing to shoot through their own troops. So that's something you really have to pay attention to. And I have another really good example of utilizing micro terrain later on in this battle as well. So even though my general is down here, he's safe because he's downhill of these guys. Now if you're looking at your map like this, you're not necessarily going to see that hill. So, they hit that unit and pretty much caused it to rout. Once again, I should have probably targeted this unit with more troops. And my lone swords are starting to catch up with his matchlocks. Now, for all the maneuvering my opponent did, as soon as I brought my infantry down here, he really started running his forces back. Like, I was surprised. I had to run and keep my general as close to my troops, as possible, because, with him running his units back, my lone swords are getting separated fairly quickly. And this was a mistake, one, because, maneuvering past his units puts his units in the rear and inflicts morale penalties on my guys. So, it was kind of a good strategy for him to do that and, really split up my units. But I really cannot, get through all this matchlock fire. You see I'm also keeping these guys back. I'm keeping him in loose formation. He's trying his damnedest to target him with his archers though. And the funny thing about this is these guys have so little ammo. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. I think they have enough for one more shot and then they're pretty much donezo. So if you look at the battle over here, you know, I'm holding up pretty well. But I'm under a lot of archer fire, a lot of matchlock fire. And I'm trying to use these lone rogue units to chase down his matchlocks, chase down his bows. But I'm about to pretty much win the main infantry battle. And here you can see my heavy gunners down to 20 units, and they've got enough for one more shot. So I kind of went for a general shot. After that though, they're out of ammo, and I decided to go ahead and throw them into melee, trying to hit his general. Now I put these Yari Ashigaru on his general, which was probably a bad move. You know, honestly, his general and staying in a fight wasn't that huge of a threat. I should have probably tried to maneuver, and instead of taking this guy out, just hitting these matchlocks, because they are honestly my biggest threat right now. Granted, his bows do have some arrows left, but it's not that bad, you know, that big of a deal. But I did take this one loansword unit to hit these matchlocks. So if you look at the forces I have left now, I have these heavy gunners that have no ammo coming to do melee with his general. I have this loansword, 33 out of 60, fighting these Daikaiju samurai. I have a Naginata warrior monk that's at 35 out of 120, and a loansword that's at 109 out of 150. As well, I have my general back here, and I'm trying to be careful with my general. I don't want to put him too close to this guy's matchlocks. And here you can see I did manage to get the general kill, which helped out quite a bit, but he still has all these units. And because they're getting so far, you know, my loanswords are getting so far away from my general, they're starting to waver, and that is definitely no bueno for this fight. So I'm trying to keep my general constantly pushed up and, you know, keep him with my forces. If you look at the battle meter too, you know, I am severely outnumbered. So now I have my general down here. I decide, you know, my best bet is to go and engage in this forest, keep them away from these matchlocks, because one volley from them, it will send my general into pretty much oblivion. And as well, you know, I'm trying to keep him close to my loansword so they don't go and rout yet. So now you can see I have these matchlocks closing in on me and my loansword. I'm just trying to keep these guys in the forest so they aren't a huge target for these matchlocks. And here's probably where I made my first mistake. I sent my general over here to chase down this bow warrior monk instead of keeping him with my loanswords. So when I sent these loanswords over here to target these matchlocks, you know, they just got out of my general range and, you know, they started to waver. So now the battle's looking pretty grim. He's got this one bow unit. I mean, it's almost out of ammo, but it's shooting at my general. It's got this unit. It's out of ammo. It's going in melee mode. You got my general and these matchlocks. So when I start to get close, he starts pulling his matchlocks back. And here's what I'm talking about using micro terrain. Now, I know that if I don't give his matchlocks a clear line of sight on my units, they aren't going to be effective. They aren't going to be able to engage my general. But I know if I can get in melee with my general, I can take out all of his remaining units. The bows are no threat. They're almost out of ammo, and they aren't going to get any kills in this forest. If they try to engage me in melee, they're going to get killed. So I figured, you know, what he would have tried to have done is taken this bow warrior monk and engaged my general, and then brought up these matchlocks from the back. And here you can see I'm still trying to keep this hill between me and the matchlocks. I'm just waiting for him to make one mistake so I can rush over the hill and hit his matchlocks before they have a chance to get a volley off. And my opponent, you know, he realizes this. He realizes I also have my rally on and that I'm not going to yield the terrain to him. I so desperately want to win this fight, I am not about to give it up. So you can see this bow unit still shooting at me, and now he's just simply waiting for my rally to wear off. You know, he knows that if he tries to engage me with my rally, it's probably not going to help much. And here he's continuously maneuvering this matchlock unit around. So every time he goes to maneuver it, I just maneuver my general to the other side of the hill. So, you know, this is a perfect position here. He's not going to get any of these volleys off. And as soon as he sees my rally starts to wear off, he decides to make his charge. So here you can see these matchlocks start to pull up. And as they get close to cresting the hill, I know it's, you know, my opportunity to engage with him. So now he doesn't have time to get off a volley. He second guesses himself and starts running his troops away. Now, rather than clicking the attack orders and getting that speed bonus, I'm double clicking in front of him over here just so my guys are running, because when you do give those attack orders, it gives your units a speed boost. So I wait for him to, you know, practically get off this hill where I still have this downhill advantage, and then as soon as that happens, I double click his units so I get that speed boost and I can catch up with his matchlocks. By the time he tries to stop and get in position, I'm already ready to engage in melee, and you know, these guys are toast. My general is also inspired now, 26 attack, and as he's trying to maneuver these matchlocks, I just keep maneuvering with him. I'm not going to let them get, you know, any type of distance away from my general so he can shoot me. And here you can see his matchlocks route. So I still have my general, 26 out of 30 units, and now I have to fight these two bow warrior monks. And this is just awesome. I won this battle with my damn general. So here you can see I actually start engaging with these bow warrior monks, and because they're so far apart, they really weren't supporting each other. Concerned attacked in the rear. So because he tried to run them away, I got a huge morale penalty on him. And here's the last unit. It's about to engage. So unfortunately I didn't save the results screen for this battle, but I can tell you my heavy gunners got the most kill with 283 kills. Pretty strange. I didn't really use them that effectively, but that was the fight. It was a long one. I know it got tedious in parts, but I hope you enjoyed, and take it easy. I'll see you next time.